Hey everyone, welcome back to Twin Oaks Farm Poultry. Thank you for joining us on YouTube. This is the flock of 304 birds that we moved in. They've been in a little over 24 hours now, and wanted to show you, we showed you in a video how they arrived in the packing boxes from the hatchery. They get shipped through the United States mail in packing boxes just about immediately after they're hatched. They get sorted and put into the boxes and shipped through the mail. So we got them on a Monday morning, actually about 8:30. They were in town, had arrived in the mail, in early Monday morning mail. And then so we moved them in Monday, and so this is Tuesday afternoon. And what I showed you after we unpacked them was how we had just the waters down to start with and the lights on when we put the birds in here. And so then about 4 hours after they're in here, we put down their feeder trays. So I wanted to show you the feeder trays that we put down there for them. And those feeder trays, we've actually got about 14 of those in here. And they have lids, but at first the birds don't always figure out to stick their heads through the little holes that are in the lid. So the very first time that we fill the feeders, we just fill them with feed and put them down for the birds to get into. And they get into them. There's some down there way at the end. They step right into them and they stand on them and they stand in there and eat. So then as they empty these and we have to refill them, we'll put the tops back on those. And the tops they run the length of the feeder tray and they have holes in them. So the birdies have to stick their heads down through the hole to get to the feed. That's a 22%. They've got some bedding, some shavings in there, but it's a 22% feed called a crumble. 22% refers to the protein analysis in it. So 22% protein, because these birds are very quick growing. They grow from hatch to harvest is what we kind of say, flock to finish. And we raise them out in 6 weeks. You could keep them a little longer. You could raise them like in 8 weeks, maybe 10, maybe 12 weeks. But the strong, thriving ones, which most of them are strong and thriving, they're really going to reach harvest ready in about 6 weeks. And at that point, we're talking about ideally, hopefully about an 8-pound finished live weight bird. And that's what you would process then into poultry. And if you're doing them into whole chickens, you should get about 75% of the live weight dressing out into the finished whole chicken that you would have in your freezer. So we aim to get our birds back from the processor as whole chickens that are about 5 pounds, right at 5 pounds, even if they're a little under or a few ounces over. But that's always our target. We're trying to produce about a 5-pound whole chicken, and we also order a lot of specialized cuts like of course boneless, skinless chicken breasts and drumsticks and thighs and gourmet ground chicken patties. But we kind of use as a baseline when I was running, kind of use as a baseline for production. You know, that's what we're aiming for, the 5-pound whole bird, 4 to 5 pound. But I like to see a 5-pound finished whole chicken when we're done. That would be the more or less the carcass weight that we get back. And so we plan on them dressing out about 75% of the live weight. But the problem for us, we don't really go by weight as far as like weighing them to decide they're finished, because the problem for us is chicken processors in America book up so quickly. Like, it's May and the chicken processors are booked for the remaining of the year. So we have our birds scheduled, you know, for a processing date. We've counted back from that processing date 6 weeks to get our hatching date. So we don't have any wiggle room on it's time to take them to the processor. Like, if they're a little bit underweight from what we really desire, we can't just not take them and do it another day. So we don't have that wiggle room. We don't have that flexibility. We have to do our best to grow them uniformly to get them ready to go to the processor right at the 6-week mark. So if we had some flexibility, you know, we have some that are ready at 5 weeks, and we have some we'd rather push out to 7 weeks. But like I said, the way we're set up using a USDA inspected processor, we have zero wiggle room on our processing dates. When it comes, we got to take the birds. So these are a couple days old, and we'll raise them for 6 weeks and they'll go to the processor. So thanks for joining us on our YouTube channel. Just wanted to show you the feeders, how we leave the trays off the first time, and the next time we see this flock, we'll have the lids on the feeders for them, and they will have grown quite a bit the next time that we get them on video. So join us again back in the barn, and please do subscribe to Twin Oaks Farm Poultry on YouTube. Thank you.